Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing all right. This time we're going to talk about something good, which is strange. I am absolutely shattered, by the way, because my 10-month-old son does not like sleeping through a full night. But because of such good news that's happened, I'm powering through and I'm making this video for you all. So if you appreciate the effort, please do like the video, do subscribe, and feel free to comment as always. But otherwise, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about the launch of a new political party. Okay, you might have heard about this already. It's the Restore Britain Party that's being headed up by Rupert Lowe. We're going to be talking about that. However, before we go into that, we're going to go through a very brief history about the United Kingdom, just sort of where it's been and sort of where it's going. So, do bear with me because I really feel like we need to add the context of why the news last night is actually such good news. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin the history lesson. We're going to start with immigration. So, cast your mind back to, oh goodness, like 13 odd years ago. Back when we were part of the European Union, there was an issue of immigration. Now, the issue at the time was we were getting lots of Eastern Europeans coming to the UK and claiming benefits. Yeah, it doesn't seem so bad now, does it? But essentially, the problem was we were getting lots of people, mainly from like Poland, maybe some other countries. And the idea was they're coming over because of we were part of the European Union, so freedom of movement, and because they had EU settled status instantly, they were able to claim social housing, claim benefits, and all that nonsense. And at the time, everyone's getting pretty peed off about it because, well, it seemed unfair. But because we were part of the EU, it didn't make a difference. So the anti-immigration rhetoric was starting to build up some steam. So that's the first thing. We then had obviously Brexit. This is just some random thing just to illustrate what I'm talking about. So one of the main things about Brexit, not just about national sovereignty and things, was about taking back control of our borders. Because at the time, we could decide who came in and out of the country from outside the EU. We couldn't decide who came in and out from within the EU. And that was a very big talking point. And Brexit really told the British people and the governments and those in the civil service, British people care about migration. Please do something about it. David Cameron came out saying, well, we're going to keep it down to the tens of thousands. And Dave left as soon as the vote came in to leave the EU. So that was happening way back in 2015. During COVID and everything, we had what's called the Boris wave. So we'd left the EU. We could control who came in and out of our country. What happened? We just had an absolute influx of people. So here's the graph here. So as you can see, 1991, we're literally, if you look at the arrivals minus departures, it's in the tens of thousands. They changed methodology. I don't care about that. And then it just starts going up and up and up. It drops at the start of COVID for obvious reasons. No one's traveling, but then it just absolutely explodes. So we had Brexit. We told the government we don't want more migration, and then it just kept happening. I did a video about this in my supply and demand video. I think one of my first videos. Go check it out. But otherwise, I'm just letting you know, migration has been a big thing in this country for the last at least 16 years, and no one has done dog shit about it. So that's just the numbers. The attitudes of the people that we're bringing in. We had a bombing at Manchester Arena in 2019 from an Ariana Grande concert. The perpetrator was linked to Islam, and I think they were the son of migrants. Again, I'm not going through the whole thing about this, but essentially what we found and have found multiple times since, Axel Rudikabana, the Southport killer, as you recall, sons of migrants. So it's not just the people that we're bringing in, it's the people that they're bringing up. It's a problem. And the government don't listen. My neck of the woods, Bournemouth, we've got our asylum seekers, the boat crossings. So not just legal migration being an issue, we've now got illegal migration that's going out of control. This individual, prick, he claimed to be a 16-year-old. So he was actually in one of our schools here with children. Turned out he'd actually already unalived people in Serbia, 2 people, before he came here. And then he actually unalived somebody, Tom Roberts, over an e-scooter. And he'd been convicted for that. So again, we don't want people like this in our country, and they just keep coming in. More recently, I can't say the words, but yeah, again, there's just, if you just Google it, there's just hundreds of these. It's people come in, they do something bad, and then we're told you're racist if you don't want these people coming in. Looking back now, Polish people just seem like an absolute pleasant to have now. They got the same religion, somewhat similar cultures. You know what? I'm going to say it. I would gladly let in like 1 million Polish people just to sit around and go to church as long as they didn't do anything to our kids like these people are. So we went from saying we don't want these people in to now just letting literally people come in and just do horrible things. And you can't say anything about it because you're racist if you do. Another thing that's happening in the UK, welfare spending. As I started off saying, we had people coming in claiming benefits. That's just going up and up and up as well. I think, what is it, like 72% of Somalis who come to the UK are on benefits. We're literally importing people into this country who have no plans of working. The asylum seekers come in saying they want their houses. We just pay people to come here and do sweet F all. We've been saying this for 13 odd years now. Nothing's happening. NHS spending. Hang on. Here it is. We've been saying for years now, we need to manage the spending of the NHS. It's just going up. It's becoming a behemoth. I think we spend more on the NHS than the GDP of some countries. Okay. This government came in saying, "Oh well, we're gonna look into it better," but no, it just goes up and up and up, and the service is shit because we've got more and more people coming in, and because they're here, they just walk into a hospital, GP, whatever, and there's signs on the walls. I've seen them saying, "You might be charged for your service here," but what happens? No one really checks into it, and if they do, they just abscond. People come here and have babies because they just have to pay for it in their own country. We send them the bill, and what happens? They don't pay it, and there's no way to get the money back off them. So again, it's called healthcare tourism, and it just goes up and up and up. And again, that's not just the immigration part of it, it's just the government part of it as well. Nobody wants to take an axe to the most blessed NHS because it's a religion. And if you speak out against it, you're an idiot. During COVID, people were banging pots and pans to the presses at NHS. What were the NHS staff doing? They were making TikTok videos because they had a sweet F all to do. All right. Sorry, bit bleak, I know, but I hope I painted a lovely picture for you. Sorry, as I said, I am really tired, and that's why I've just stopped giving a fuck. So, immigration is a problem. Welfare spending's a problem. The NHS spending is a problem. Crime from immigration is a problem. No one's doing anything about it. It's just going up and up in every metric possible. And for years and years and years, if you said anything about it, you were blacklisted. You were just cast away. That's it, wasn't it? Here's the hope, though. Oh, sorry. Right, now I actually get to feel good. This is lovely. There's a man called Rupert Lowe. Some of you already know him, some of you probably don't. Just a very brief summary of him. As you see there, he is currently the MP for Great Yarmouth. He was the ex-Southampton Football Club chairman. He's a businessman. He's a farmer. He was a former MEP. Rupert Lowe joined Reform during the election of 2024. if I'm right, the one that Rishi Sunak called when he was in the rain. He was part of Reform. So Reform got 6 million votes, so they know they got 5 MPs. He was one of them. And straight away, Rupert was hitting the ground running. He was coming out saying, all this stuff. The stuff that Nigel was just, poking at the edges, because Reform is trying to be Tories 2.0, which, in my opinion, isn't a bad thing. We need a Tory party, and the Tory parties aren't it. So that's what Nigel's trying to do, and he's trying to placate to donors, to the media. He's in the right direction, but he's just not there. Rupert does not give an F about anything, and he just comes in and he's just saying all this stuff about, nope, people need to work, we need to deport people, does millions if need be. And Nigel's like, well, calm down, mate, like we're not going that hard. And Rupert's like, yeah, we are. So what happens then? Sorry, now I'm going to do a quick history of Rupert Lowe until now. So back in January 2025, so obviously we've only had a government for like half a year maybe. Elon Musk comes out saying, nope, Nigel doesn't have what it takes to be Reform UK leader. Now at the time, for those that don't remember, Elon Musk was very buddy-buddy with Donald Trump, because he had a DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and he had a lot of sway at the time. And Nigel would obviously come over, because he's friends with President Trump. But Musk obviously had a bad feeling about him, was like, no, he doesn't have what it takes to be the leader. And he actually said, I think Rupert Lowe would be a better candidate. Now, obviously, Reform is a cult of personality, and that personality is Nigel Farage. He parachuted himself straight back into it as the leader, even though Richard Tice kind of been holding it up for the last few years at his own expense. And the thing about Reform is, if you're not 100% backing Nigel, you're not in. Okay, there's been numbers of their Reform councillors, party members who are basically been blacklisted because they dared question Nigel. Ben Habib, he basically came out and said, we need to democratise the Reform Party, because at the moment it's a limited company and Nigel holds the shares, so he's just the decision maker. He was soon shown the door, and he went off to make Advance. Advance UK, Ben Habib actually created it with the idea of Rupert Lowe leading it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So these are sort of things that Rupert Lowe was saying. So this is 9th of February 2025, so about a month after Elon said what he said. Words cannot describe my disdain for the British establishment and what they've done to our country. Britain is a joke, a total joke. We need to get ruthlessly efficient with deportations. If you come to our country and commit crime, you are gone. End of story. Right? And he's quoting an Albanian's deportation over because his son had a distaste for chicken nuggets in a different country, so he has to stay here. Right. Rupert Lowe then gets suspended around March. So this is Richard Tice, who I just mentioned. He was running Reform until Nigel came back in. This is just him on GB News talking to Camilla Tommy.
And it's a simple question, and I know you're good at answering questions, Mr. Tice. If he's exonerated, is he welcome back in Reform?
Well, the whip has been withdrawn, and we want team players that will unite. I am actually. The whip has been withdrawn.
So Rupert Lowe was suspended over bullying claims, which in politics is just the easiest thing just to fabricate. Oh, all politicians probably get a bit short with people. Priti Patel got done for bullying. She was a Home Secretary, of course, probably a bit angry at people. They were doing a crap job. So he got suspended from Reform. And as you heard Richard Tice said, they want team players. Now, as I said, Team Reform is Team Nigel. Because Rupert was stepping out of line and was saying things that Nigel probably, wasn't on board with, or didn't have the heart to talk about, he got suspended, and that was it. And then he got kicked out. He's been an independent ever since. That's the history of it. Now, fast forward, Rupert Lowe, when he was suspended, Ben Habib asked him to join Advance UK and lead it. Rupert Lowe said no, he didn't want to be part of party politics anymore. He wanted to do what he can from the backbenches as an independent, and he's been doing a great job. He's been consistently asking the Parliament questions, using questions to Parliament. MPs can do up to 20 per day. If I'm right in thinking, he's done the most out of all the other MPs, because he's constantly asking, do you have statistics for this? Do you have statistics for that? Because of that, even as an independent, he's actually been put onto a committee regarding government scrutiny. So he sits there and he scrutinises civil servants about the amount they spend on things because he's good at it. He's a businessman. Businessmen know where, well, good ones know where every penny's gone, and he eviscerates them. I would recommend you go watch it because it is hilarious. So he's an independent. He's not joined Advance UK. What he does then, he creates a movement called Restore Britain. So it's not a political party, it's a movement. And the idea of it is they get everybody on board together who are all in the same mindset, and they become, I guess, a sort of power base, a sort of, maybe if they endorse candidates, or they become a think tank, brainstorming ideas and policies. He creates that. Fast forward to last night, he actually creates his own party. Now, Elon Musk, I'll just cut this out. He's still endorsing him. He's the only one who's actually going to do it. So we're just going to watch a very short clip from this. Okay, it's 7 minutes long. I could easily farm time just by watching this, but I don't want to turn people off. Go watch it on X if you haven't already.
I have chosen to speak to you today from the farm because places like this represent what proper Britain is about. Hard work, responsibility, effort, duty, stewardship. This is the England I know, and this is the England that I love. On a farm, you don't think in election cycles or headlines or polling. You think in seasons, you think in generations, in what you leave behind to those who come after you. And that's why, here on the farm, I am now launching Restore Britain as a national political party. I'm now going to dedicate my life to finding, organising, funding, and providing hundreds of qualified candidates to present to the British people at the next general election. This process has already started, with invitations being issued to patriots in aligned political parties, Reform, the Conservatives, the SDP, Advance, and more. In local politics, we will work...
Right, I think that's enough, but I think you get the point. So that is essentially... so I'm all over the place here. And I'm just going to quickly show you just some things that Rupert Lowe's been saying. So I've literally searched Rupert Lowe deport. Right. So here he is, as I mentioned, that select committee. I don't care about human rights of foreign people or those. Please spare me the continued moral outrage. It is not cruel to deport criminals. It is not inhumane to defend our own citizens. Rupert Lowe on failed politicians. Anyone who imported thousands of con men chances certain other people from the world wealth do not deserve your support. Rupert Lowe calls for all Albanian criminals to be deported. Right, Conor Tomlinson's quoted here. We should be ferociously pushing to deport family members of these men who were aware of their heinous crimes their husbands, fathers, brothers and sons are committing on young British girls. That's in reference to the grooming gangs I did a video on last week. Please go watch it. They all knew about it and did nothing, out, gone deported and never allowed back. Some random person, the whole communities and areas would have been aware. Rupert Lowe, then so be it. So that's the sort of person we're talking about then. Essentially a no-nonsense based person who wants to get this country working again for the British people. Just as a kind of quick summary, Britain needs a right-wing party. Now, I've done a video on left versus right, go check that out. But when we talk about left and right wing eventually leans towards socialism, communism, fascism. And what that generally implies is the party is more important than the country. It tries to remove the cultural heritage of the country. Prime example of that, look at China. If you look at sort of any Chinese sort of history, it's all colourful, it's all sort of mystic, like dynasty, like Romance of the Three Kingdoms, all that sort of, wonderful stuff. Now you look at it, it's all drib, it's all dreary. They don't want to celebrate the history of the country because that implies the country is bigger than the party, which is not allowed. You look at the right wing, left wing, that's, like I said, it's all about the group. Right wing, you're looking at more about the individual. And then in that sort of sense, you're also celebrating the individual's cultural heritage, because even though we are individuals, we all make up a national identity. And that's sort of what we aim towards and strive towards achieving. We don't have a right wing in the UK. The Tories, we had 14 years of them, and they just went further and further and further to the left in terms of policies, in terms of identity. It's shattered. The reason Reform have been doing so well, it's not because they're going to be a right-wing party. It's just because they're going to be more right than what the Tories are. A lot of the people who are showing support for Reform are disillusioned Labour voters because they think Reform are going to come back and focus on them. The problem that Reform have is because they're trying to play to the stands, they can't come out and say, yes, we're going to be British first. Yes, we're going to be anti-Islam. We're going to be pro-Christian. Because they're trying to win over, they're trying to be mainstream. They're trying to win over the media, and the media doesn't play to that because the media is left-wing, liberal dicks. Advance came out as a knee-jerk reaction to Ben Habib getting kicked out of Reform. So it sort of lacked that sort of initial credibility. It seemed more like we want to be Reform plus one, or we want to be sort of the other parts of Reform that, Reform aren't saying, which doesn't really kind of lend credence to it. Restore Britain is just coming out of the gate straight away, spearheaded by Rupert Lowe, just like, nope, I'm telling you all now, this is all bullshit. This is what needs to be done, hell or high water. We don't care about what the media says. We don't care about what current politicians or the civil service say. If we get in, this is what's going to happen. Deal with it. And I can tell you right now, this is actually giving me so much hope, because I know people who they say, I don't really like Reform, but I kind of have to vote for them because otherwise I'm voting for the Uni Party. And when we say the Uni Party, we're basically saying the Tories, the Lib Dems, the Labour, Greens even now, they're basically all the same. You're not going to get what you want, but it's going to be better than having them. Restore Britain's going to break that mould. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I know people, good friends of mine, very big reformers, very big cult of Nigel, and they hate Rupert Lowe. And they only hate him because Nigel doesn't like him anymore. The brainwashing that we've seen on the left for years and years and years has infected the right. They're like, nope, if you're not with us, you're against us. It's not actually, I agree with Rupert on this, that and the other. It doesn't matter if I agree with him. I hate him because Nigel hates him. And a lot of people see that and they get put off Reform. And they've all been basically homeless because I'm one of them. I was a big Nigel fan, big Brexit, as you probably guessed. Look, I got a skinhead. Obviously, EDL member, aren't I? I was looking at Reform and I'm like, Nigel sits there and says, we can't fight Islam. If we try to, we're going to lose. So I'm sat here wondering, okay, if I want a party who's basically going to kick Islam out of the UK, because I'll be honest, I don't think it's cohesive with Christian culture, who's going to do it? Not Reform. Definitely not no one else on the left. So, but if Restore Britain come in and say, listen, if you're part of these grooming gangs, or if you know anything about them, you're gone. That's it. If you're a foreign criminal and you commit crimes in this country, you're gone. If I'm going to look at government spending and I think it's ridiculous, I'm going to fix it. Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain is basically the government that we should always have. is that the one we deserve? Probably not if we keep voting for Labour and Tories and things. So that's going to be it. Sorry, this is probably going to be gone on quite a while, but essentially what I'm going to say is if you're feeling bleak about UK politics, if you're thinking there's really no way out, I mean, the Starmer government is absolutely crap, and yes, it is going to end eventually, and it's going to be a tough ride then. But essentially, look to the east on the third day. Okay, you're sat there in Helm's Deep, you're surrounded by Uruk-hai. It all looks completely bleak, and it looks like it's going to end. But who shows up with the Riders of Rohirrim? Rupert Lowe riding Shadowfax. And for once, I'm actually feeling this can actually be the start of something great, and we're going to see what happens. But yeah, anyone who's feeling downtrodden, bleak, terrible about sort of the state of UK politics and what's happened to reform, there's hope on the horizon. Just look to the east on the third day. That's what I say. Otherwise, guys, if you like this summary, if you liked what I had to say, or if you agree with me, feel free to comment, and otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Toodles.